Different date, same fate. I'ma knock out Jake Paul.
Mike Tyson just crumbled Jake Paul after releasing new fight rules for November 15th. Jake initially canceled the fight thinking he could get away with it, claiming that Mike, being nearly 60, wouldn't be in his best shape. But Mike Tyson wasn't having any of that nonsense. He hit Jake with a $350 million fine for thinking he himself is the authority. Now Jake's come running back, begging Mike to stick to the original schedule. But now, he has to deal with the consequences and face the new fight rules. And trust me, these new rules are designed specifically to break Jake's bones. It all started on July 5th, 2024, when Jake Paul threw the boxing world for a loop by announcing he was canceling his big fight with Mike Tyson. Yep, you heard that right. In a video on his YouTube channel, Jake claimed he was super worried about Tyson's health. He even cited some medical advice, saying that at 58, Tyson might not be up for the challenge. Jake was all about Mike's health comes first, showing his respect for the legendary boxer and all that jazz.
Obviously, devastating news. I'm heartbroken, speechless, gutted. We've been working so hard over here, everyone in this camp, and I just feel bad for everyone involved in this event.
This announcement hit like a bombshell, especially with all the hype that had been building up around the fight. Tyson had been training like a beast, sharing his progress on social media, proving he still had it. But then Jake's sudden cancellation left everyone scratching their heads. The internet exploded with confusion and speculation. Jake tried to smooth things over by telling fans to just forget about the fight and focus on the future. Yeah, that didn't go over well. People were frustrated. Promoters and sponsors were ticked off. In a twist no one saw coming, Jake announced he had a new opponent, Mike Perry. This fight was set for July 20th, 2024 choice. Jake's explanation for the switch? Mike Perry is a great fighter and a true competitor. That's it. That's all he said.
Yeah, the news is true, folks. I, Jake Paul, will be fighting Mike Perry, Tampa, Florida, July.
The news left fans both curious and skeptical. People started debating the fight's implications. Perry, who had switched from MMA to boxing, brought a whole different vibe. His no-nonsense brawler mentality was a stark contrast to Jake's flashy persona. Promotion for Paul vs. Perry fight kicked off in high gear. Perry, never shy, promised a war in the ring, amping up the anticipation. Meanwhile, the shadow of the canceled Tyson fight loomed large, making everyone wonder what could have been. But no one, and I mean no one, reacted more explosively than Iron Mike himself. Imagine a man in severe pain from an ulcer, yet still refusing to cancel the fight because of his sense of commitment. And then here comes Jake Paul thinking he can just call it off? Who does he think he is? Mike Tyson doesn't play around, especially when there are millions on the line. So what's his first move? He hits Jake Paul with a $350 million lawsuit. Yep, $350 million? Why such a staggering amount, you ask? Let's break it down. The financial fallout from Jake's sudden change of plans was massive. Companies like Monster Energy and DraftKings had dumped a fortune into advertising this mega matchup. We're talking multi-million-dollar campaigns that are now totally useless. Next, sponsorships. Big brands had lined up to associate their names with what was supposed to be one of the biggest boxing events of the year. When Jake pulled the plug, all those sponsorship deals turned into financial black holes. It's like watching stacks of cash burn in a bonfire. And don't even get me started on the advertising. TV spots, online ads, billboards, gone, poof, up in smoke.
Biggest fight.
Yeah, the biggest ever.
Ever. It's on pace to be the biggest fight ever.
Yes, and we're involved.
We're involved, right?
We're involved. All those big shots, all the biggest athletes in the world, this is the biggest ever.
November 28th.
Lit. Hey, we lit here. We lit at the Tyson Ranch.
And the venue bookings? These events don't just happen. They're planned months in advance. From the broadcasters who secured exclusive rights to the small-time investors hoping to cash in, everyone took a hit. And now Jake Paul is facing the music. The controversy over the $350 million fine has sparked a heated debate. Critics argue the amount is excessive and question if it's even enforceable. Jake didn't mean to cancel the fight. It was just a mix-up, a miscommunication. Yeah, right. This move was classic Jake Paul playing the misunderstood charming rogue who just made a little oopsie. According to them, Jake's statements were taken out of context. They emphasized Jake's commitment to making the fight happen and reassured everyone that November would see the two titans clash in the ring. But of course, Mike Tyson wasn't buying any of it. Iron Mike's trust had been shattered, and he wasn't about to let Jake Paul off the hook that easily. Tyson issued an ultimatum that turned the boxing world on its head. If Jake wanted the fight to go ahead, it would be on Tyson's terms, and those terms were nothing short of brutal. Tyson's new fight rules were announced on July 10, 2024, and they were designed to push Jake to his absolute limits. This isn't your standard boxing match anymore. Tyson's rules are designed to push Jake Paul to the edge and test him like never before. First up, we've got the extended fight duration. Instead of the usual 8 rounds, this bout is set for a grueling 15 rounds. Yep, Tyson's throwing it back to the old school days of boxing. This change is huge for several reasons. For one, the strategic implications are massive. Fighting 15 rounds requires a completely different level of stamina and endurance. Jake Paul, who's used to shorter fights, now has to prepare his body and mind to go the distance. He'll need to pace himself, conserve energy, and be strategic about when to go on the offensive and when to defend. The extended duration means more time in the ring, more chances for mistakes, and more opportunities to get worn down. It's a test of who can maintain their performance and composure over a prolonged period, something especially challenging under the intense physical and mental pressure of a high-stakes fight. Next, Tyson's cutting down the rest period between rounds to a mere 30 seconds instead of the usual 1 minute. This rule ramps up the challenge significantly. In a standard fight, the 1-minute breaks are crucial for recovery. They allow fighters to catch their breath, receive advice from their corner, and regroup. With only 30 seconds, that recovery time is slashed by half, making it much harder to recuperate between rounds. Now let's talk about gloves. Tyson's insisting on using 8-ounce gloves, which are lighter than the more common 10-ounce gloves used in many professional fights. This might seem like a small change, but it has huge implications for the dynamics of the fight. Smaller gloves mean harder hits. With less padding, each punch lands with more force, increasing the impact and, consequently, the risk of injury. Paul will need to refine his technique to maximize the power of his punches, while also bracing for Tyson's powerful hits. Then we have the knockout-only rule. Forget about points, technical decisions, or judges' scorecards. This fight is all about the knockout. Tyson decreed that the bout must end with one fighter flat on the canvas, no exceptions. This rule puts a massive emphasis on power and finishing ability. For Jake Paul, this is a colossal shift. He's no stranger to knockouts, having built a reputation on his powerful right hand. But this rule means every round, every punch must be thrown with knockout intent. There's no playing it safe, no winning rounds by jabs and footwork alone. Paul must go all in, risking everything to deliver a knockout punch. The emphasis on knockout power gives Tyson a psychological edge. He knows this is his domain, and he knows Jake must fight his fight. The anticipation for this kind of ending keeps the audience on the edge of their seats, knowing that any moment could be the final one. Next, we have the Iron Man round. This rule is a brutal innovation by Tyson. A single round where the fight doesn't stop for any reason, lasting a full 3 minutes. No breaks, no stoppages, just continuous fighting. This rule is designed as the ultimate test of stamina and resilience. Tyson, ever the strategist, knows this rule could be a game changer. Then there's the rule about random drug tests. Tyson insisted on mandatory and random drug testing throughout training and pre-fight. Yeah, now for Jake Paul, there's no room for any performance-enhancing shortcuts. Tyson's insistence on random drug tests also sends a clear message. He wants this fight to be pure, a true test of skill, strength, and endurance, adding another level of complexity to their preparation. Finally, we have the no clinching rule. Tyson has imposed strict penalties for excessive holding or clenching during the fight. Clinching, where fighters grab onto each other to stop the action, is often used to buy time or disrupt the opponent's rhythm. Tyson wants none of that. He's all about continuous action and engagement. This rule means Jake can't rely on clinching to recover or slow down Tyson's relentless assaults. He has to stay active, keep moving, and continue fighting. Now tell me, can Jake survive all this? Or should he sign his will before stepping into the ring? Well, it seems the old proverb holds true here. You reap what you sow.